This is Get a Real Job, the podcast devoted to people who choose risk over safe bets, who pursue their passion against all odds and are doing what they want, how they want, despite people, and sometimes the voices in their own heads, telling them they're nuts.
When the field that I wanted to work in didn't exist, I created it.
The only thing you have to decide is how hard do you want to work.
I really never went into the design of the restaurant of not succeeding. One way or another, I was going to succeed.
I'm your host, Dan Bova, editorial director of Entrepreneur.com. Thanks for listening. And now, get a real job. In 1984, today's guest inspired me to dedicate my life to studying martial arts in a strip mall on Long Island. Well, 3 months into my training, Sensei Steve and I mutually agreed that I kind of sucked at it, and my karate career was short-lived. But the career of today's guest is anything but short-lived. He starred in iconic cultural touchstones like The Karate Kid, My Cousin Vinny, and Netflix #1 show, Cobra Kai. And now he has a new book out, Waxing On, The Karate Kid and Me. Please welcome the me in that book title, the one and only Ralph Macchio. Ralph, how are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for the intro. That sounded like my early days of martial arts. It's interestingly mirrored. When I was a kid before the movie, I took a few jujitsu lessons, if you will.
Yes.
And I had kind of the same reviews, but who knew I'd be thrown back into the well, and who knew it was going on for 4 decades and counting.
That's amazing. Yeah. My parents, I just remember them looking through that glass window like, is everyone's going that way and he's going this way?
That's right.
Let's try soccer. So great to talk to you. Cobra Kai is, I'll admit that I am new to Cobra Kai. I'm only like halfway through the first season, so do not ruin anything for me.
I won't. It evolves from there. It's sort of the first season is very much the setup coming in through Johnny Lawrence's eyes, and then it takes you on this karate soap opera journey that's getting bigger and bigger, and for whatever the reason, the world is on board. So it's really been exciting.
Well, I think it's just, you've talked about this, but it's just brilliant how you guys reinvented this whole thing. In the movies, there was the good guys and the bad guys, but now from episode to episode, I'm like, wow, Daniel's a dick, or wow, he's the best. So it's just, it's really cool.
Yeah. Everyone, your allegiance flips back and forth, certainly in those first few seasons, and then it's really, it dives into the gray areas of these characters, and there's not everybody is all good or all bad, and that's kind of the scripture that these guys that create Cobra Kai have launched off of, and it's really working.
So my question to you is, you and Billy Zabka, did you discover the fountain of youth? I mean, is this a picture of Dorian Gray situation? It's incredible. You guys both look amazing.
Well, thank you. Listen, the entire Karate Kid universe is kind of blessed in a good way. We joke when we pitched the Cobra Kai. I guess if we walked in the room and we were all like unrecognizable, it might have been a tough sell from the start. But since we resemble each other, and certainly when you keep the camera back far enough, it works more in our favor. But we'll take that. We'll take a little bit of the sprinkling magic dust that comes with the Karate Kid franchise.
The fountain of youth, yes. So I wonder, I would hope not now, but maybe back in the day, were you getting a lot of fans, let's say overzealous fans, wanting to spar with you, like in the parking lot or wherever they happen to run into you?
Yeah, I think, it's funny. I think I expected more of that. I remember our first assistant director on on the original Karate Kid film was I think he worked on Rocky 3 or maybe a few of the Rockies because of the same director, John Avildsen. And he said to me one day, he said, when this thing comes out, if it takes off, you're going to be like Stallone, where everyone's going to want to square off with you, protect their girlfriends or their car or whatever it is, that they. So I had it in my head that I was going to have to be really careful, but I think Zapka had more of that than I did.
Yeah, okay.
And he attests to that. I think they just, they took one look at my physique and just said, this is too easy. Let's move on. Not going to take this poor guy down. He's got one kick.
Right. Well, again, I'm only in the first season, but your roundhouse kick to that guy's teacup was pretty impressive.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah. A lot more stretching these days.
Right.
It's all about injury prevention and warming those miles on the road.
Right, but, right. Well,
it's fun.
It's funny you mentioned Sylvester Stallone. I recently interviewed him, and he said the number one thing he has is people want to challenge him to an arm wrestle.
Right, from
over the top, right?
Over the top, yeah, right.
So, and he said he quickly realized, I'll say yes, and then I'll just lose instantly on purpose, because he said he didn't want to get his arm torn off by some weird skinny guy that was just an arm wrestling, maybe.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm thinking Sly Stallone and then Ralph Macchio. How do I? What's the perfect trifecta? Who should I interview next to complete this Italian legend journey?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm glad I'm included. I think that was a great. I don't know. It's a tough. I'm going down the list. You see, back in the, it's interesting because back. You think of the films of the 70s, which is, now I'm dating myself, but that was the greatest, one of the best American movie eras of films. When you think of Pacino and De Niro and they're so I immediately go to that line.
Okay.
Because they're here, they're amazing, and they'll probably have some stories. Might be tougher to pull stories out of them, though.
Yes, yeah. Not the most loquacious in interviews that I've seen, but so great to talk to you, and I can't wait to read your book. Can you talk a little bit about what kinds of things that the book is about? Obviously it's about your life, but do you weave in I'm sure you've had incredible mentors over the years. What can we expect?
Well, the book came about, I'd been approached for a long while now about, would you ever write about the experience of making the original Karate Kid film and what it's become? And this is before Cobra Kai even hit.
Oh, wow.
So it was just about, the timing wasn't right. And then when Cobra Kai hit, but more so when the world shut down with the pandemic, I was like, what do I do now in March and April of 2020?
Right.
Cobra Kai was in the can season 3. YouTube wasn't picking up the show because they'd been mandated out of scripted. And now we were without a home and trying to resell it. And obviously, as the story goes, Netflix picks it up and it's this global explosion. That being said, so at that time, I'm like, maybe this is the time to write a book proposal. So I started, listing chapters and kind of the making of the film was the first part of it. Me seeing the film for the first time, the making of the film, some of the untold stories behind some of the iconic things from that film. Then the second part of the book became more the afterlife, what happens when the crane takes flight, which is the title of one of the chapters, and what happened to my life in the summer of '84. And then after that, and the sort of the some of the difficult times of the 90s. But it's always connected to the Karate Kid of it all in some way and how it's never gone away, certainly for me. And now the relevance and the lessons from that experience and the film itself, but also my journey in the shoes of that character over 40 years time. I think it's quite a unique, it's at least a story only I could tell.
Yeah.
So that became inspirational. And, I'm more inspired by having been given the opportunity of that role that now is even more relevant than it ever was. I walked down the street just yesterday in New York, and I'd say 80% of the people coming up are 12, 14, 15-year-old kids. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And they talk about their parents and they talk about their grandparents, and they all watch the show and they all go back and watch the movies, and they watch the movies then, or they watch the show first and they learned about the movie. So it just seems the right time to it's a celebratory look at the Karate Kid, its place in pop culture and cinema and my life.
That's incredible. So what was your at the ripe old, how old were you when you made Karate Kid? 15?
I was 21, turned 22.
Oh, right. No, you were.
There's plenty of information. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
It's the Macchio curve. I write about the Macchio curve.
So at that stage of your life, was acting it, like, this is what I'm going to do, this is going to be my life no matter what? Was there a backup plan? What was going on?
It's funny because you talk about the plan Bs. There are a lot of people who say don't focus on a plan B because you'll never get your plan A. I'm somewhere in the middle. I still think you have to have, being creative, being an actor, being in this industry is something you could always do. Whether you can make a living at it or not is another story. And I've been beyond blessed. But there were certain times where I was not making a living at it, but I was smart enough that I didn't get sucked in the vortex and underwater. And but I grew up, I mentioned films of the 70s. I grew up at that time where I just, I had that I was the daydreamer in English class. That was when I read The Outsiders, which I did when I was 12, my head was out the window thinking about, wow, what if I knew these guys? What if it's really a dream come true role for me, that film. And so I fell in love with storytelling at a young age, watching old movie musicals with my mom. And I write about this in the book as well, that I wanted to be Gene Kelly when I was 6,
Right.
He was the coolest. He was athletic. He was smooth. He was good looking. So yes. So, I mean, it happened fairly quickly for me.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, I paid my dues later after I had my initial success. And now it's bearing more fruit than anyone could imagine, myself included.
So those years where maybe it wasn't going exactly, Karate Kid level, did you freak out at any point, or how did you keep your head together? As you said, you didn't get sucked into this, you didn't buy 72 Lamborghinis and now you're like flat broke. I guess, how did you keep your head together when things were great? And then, being an actor in this whole industry, pretty anxiety inducing, I would guess.
Yeah.
You don't know where your next big hit is coming from. So how do you sort of bridge those times?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I write about that in the Waxing On book. I mean, there was, how did I think it's part my upbringing as how I handled the success on set. And part my own sensibilities. I was a New Yorker. Anytime I was in LA, I wanted to be back in New York. The Mets were doing pretty good at that time, so I wanted to be at those games. My Islanders, a hockey team, was winning the Stanley Cup, so I wanted to be at those games. So it's like I didn't want to necessarily be on Sunset Boulevard getting into the coolest club. I wanted to be back at the game or with my family or stuff like that. So some of it is upbringing, and some of it is, when I say my own sensibilities, I was less seduced by all that. It was overwhelming to me. So instead of like dipping the toe in the water, I kind of recoiled from it. And when I look back at it, I think of it that way, and I think that worked for me. Although, sometimes you need to go down those paths to get a deeper meaning of life, but it is a slippery slope. So I guess what I may have lost in experience, I've gained in not sliding down the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I look at it at this point. Now, when things got tougher in the business, meaning I was not on the list anymore, I was not getting the parts for a while. I had there's a stress anxiety level. It's very tough not to become desperate and want to. I think if I lived in LA through it all and just sat in that world, or even lived in New York City, I was still out in the burbs of Long Island, sort of, so I was able to create my own life, even though there was that void of what used to be is no longer anymore. What I wound up doing is diving into different types of storytelling, some writing, directing of some short films, being creative in some way did help with that. And I never got so far. The Karate Kid, The Outsiders, Vinny, My Cousin Vinny, these movies have always kind of stood the test of time. Even when they were older films, they were still kind of cool older films.
Yeah.
It's not like I was in the one that just went out with that decade. I got to be in a few that graduated and stuck around. So I was never kind of totally uncool and has been.
Right.
So maybe another way I got a little bit of luck.
You weren't a Spice Girl.
Well, I'm not gonna. You could say that. I'm not saying that.
More coming up from our guests, but first, a word from our sponsor. Whether you need digital tools so you can bank on the go, or you need a one-on-one with an experienced business banker, with PNC Bank, you got it. PNC's business banking team is built entirely around the way you like to do business. Innovative mobile tools that let you manage your cash flow, monitor your payments, and more around the clock give you the flexibility that every business owner needs. And PNC combines those digital tools with a team of business bankers who are ready to sit down and talk about the unique needs of your business and help you develop personalized strategies to move your business forward. Learn how PNC Bank can make a difference for you and your business at pnc.com/bankyourway. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC. And our next sponsor. This episode of Get a Real Job is presented by State Farm. Being a small business owner can be so fulfilling, rewarding, and, let's be honest, a little scary from time to time. Doing your own thing and being your own boss is great, but sometimes it can make you feel like you're all alone, especially when things aren't going so great. Well, the folks at State Farm want you to know you aren't alone. State Farm has thousands of agents who are small business owners too, so they know what it takes to protect everything you work so hard for. State Farm has an assortment of insurance policies for small businesses that can be tailored to your needs. So whether you're a hairstylist, an electrician, or a florist, State Farm agents are ready to help. Learn more and find an agent today at statefarm.com/smallbusiness. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And we're back. So I would imagine now with the success of Cobra Kai and all this interest, I'm going to guess that people are knocking on your door, and I'm just going to go ahead and guess that we're going to see the Karate Kid in the MCU. Is that the next?
I mean, you just don't know. I mean, listen, there's no limit to what a studio executive would say. Sure, we could do this, and we could do that, and he could be an alien, and he can come back and have superpowers, and there could be three of them. There could be three of them from different universes, and we will, and when stories are well executed, people are, it becomes a power of suggestion.
Right.
the Karate Kid cinematic universe has begun with Cobra Kai. They've opened that up. There's, potential spin-offs off the series. There's potential Miyagi origin story, which is always something I would love to see.
Oh, that's cool.
Who was the teenage Mr. Miyagi? What was his life? What was World War II? What led him to become a maintenance man in the Valley when he had to leave the love of his life in Okinawa? I mean, that's that movie. That series, that dramatic, great. It needs to be made. It should be spectacular.
Yeah. Wow, that's a great idea. And
it's not mine. I would love to say it's only mine. It's not. It's just I'm a cheerleader for the concept.
Ralph Macchio is claiming full credit for that idea. Just to be clear.
How'd you like that? I slipped that disclaimer in. It's like running across the bottom of the screen that no one can see.
Pat Morita must have been that's a pretty good guy to be co-starring with when you're coming up in the world, I'm guessing.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of that in the book. I talk about that relationship, the sort of the main chapter that tackles that. I mean, he's throughout the book, but Soulful Magic is what I title that chapter, because that's kind of what he was, what that role was, even though Miyagi and Pat Morita were two different people. When he spoke those words, it was a choice of only one on the planet. It's amazing. I talk about how no one wanted him for the part,
Wow.
And, he was Arnold in Happy Days. I said the same thing. I talk about how I was like, oh my God, Arnold from Happy Days, that's what this is going to be. And it's so funny, the irony of that, and I allude to this, the irony of that is I initially just pigeonholed him as that until I met him and he read that role, and our chemistry just happened instantaneously. The irony is that it was kind of foreshadowing for what people would say about me. Oh, you mean the Karate Kid? Nah, you're not gonna, and that
right. Even
for cousin Vinny, that was there was hesitation for me getting that part because the studio said, yeah, but he's a Karate Kid. You don't want that.
That's wild. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's like, oh, I'm pigeonholed with these two roles in these insanely successful things. Right. Like no one's going to want me now. It's just what a crazy industry.
Yeah, it is crazy.
So you mentioned the Mets. Now we're recording this in late September. So by the time this comes out, we'll be celebrating the Mets World Series championship.
Well, we hope so. We hope so. That would be awfully wonderful. We have it's a long road, but it's been an exciting season. And it's nice that they're relevant. I enjoy all my New York sports teams that I've always rooted for, and it's fun. I share it with my son, my daughter, and who are adults now, and
right.
We were just the Jets game all together. It was not a good end result, but we had a great time.
That's pretty much a guarantee. It's never going to.
Yeah, that's for sure. But it keeps us. It makes those victories all the more.
Yeah,
sweet.
When they win, you're like, "What just happened?"
What just happened?
Are your kids are not in the Hollywood business? Do they?
My daughter is. My daughter is. She's actually in. Once you get to season 4 of Cobra Kai, you're gonna.
Oh.
Her, and she's really awesome.
Oh, that's great.
So there's she's a singer, actress, dancer. She's done theater, stage, did the national tour of Flashdance and the Jennifer Beals role. So she's do as I say, not as I do. Didn't work,
Yeah.
But she.
I was gonna say, was that was that by design where you're like, please don't do this?
Yeah, it's tough to. Because what I always say, what happened to me is a bazillion to one. But, you got to follow your passion. And like I said before, you can always be creative,
Yeah.
And so it's making a living part that's it's the tough part.
Did your kids, or do they, I mean, I guess that they're a little older now. They have an appreciation for what's going on. But were they always like, why are people trying to karate fight you wherever we go?
Yes. I think my daughter was about 5 or 6. We were in a Planet Hollywood. Maybe she was young, probably 4 years old. And they would have like the memorabilia up. And it's like, why is, what is this like bathrobe that has a tree on the back of it? And why everyone's standing on one leg every time they come to the table? Yeah, there's a good joke for you. But it's kind of true.
Yeah, that's great. It just hit me who the third person should be. Fabio.
Fabio.
Yeah. I think that would bring it all, tie it all together.
Right. That does tie it all together. And his thespian, his work, and his body of work. And speaking of body of work, it might have been an pun intended there, but yeah.
You all have fantastic hair. Is what I'm getting at. Okay. So Cobra Kai. Now can you give any hints as to what people who are caught up can sort of look forward to? Any sneak peeks? Is it all in development?
Well, it's, with season 5 just came out September 9th and has been, as they say in the music business, top of the charts for a little bit. So it looks like we'll get to do more, but that is not official as of yet. So you always have those butterflies not knowing, if you're going to get the hook even at the top of the mountain. But I think I'd like to believe Netflix and Sony will let the guys who create the show bring it in and let it end at the time, because the fan base is so passionate. Yeah. And that's I write about that too. It's not the one actor in the movie or even the cast or even the filmmaker. The Karate Kid has become, it's a piece of pop culture as part of the American lexicon, some of these lines of dialogue. And so it's, they are passionate fans. So we want to give them the ending that they'd like, and hopefully it spins off to more other ideas.
I'll let you go in a minute, but what line of dialogue from either My Cousin Vinny or The Karate Kid or anything you've been in, are you like, you know what? I appreciate you shouting this at me, but maybe I don't need to hear this every day.
Right. I guess, they're all, as I get older, they're all awesome because it just means people care and they watch these movies. Like when someone says to me, well, hey, how do you feel about people saying the kick was illegal and Johnny Lawrence is the real, and I was like, the fact that 24, 36 years later, people are doing that means that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, that is great.
A movie that anyone talks about that only the grandparents originally saw, poor parent. So, but, I love hearing the Stay Gold Pony Boys and the I shot the clerks from My Cousin Vinny, and I guess Get Him a Body Bag is probably one that I shouldn't want to hear too much at my age, but they're all pretty awesome.
That's fantastic. Well, and I have to thank you for us growing up, even to this day. I'm still called Daniel-san by various members of my family and friends. So thank you for that.
I apologize.
No, all good. So Ralph, I appreciate so much your time here and just all the stuff that you've created. It's really brought a lot of joy to me, to the world. So on the behalf of the world, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And so the book is called Waxing On, The Karate Kid and Me. I will be reading it for sure. So Ralph, thanks so much. And you want to give a shout out to Long Island? My family all still lives there.
You got to give a shout out to Long Island. That's those are my people. I'm just it was a great place to grow up. It's a great place to live, despite the taxes and the traffic on the Long Island Expressway.
There you go. The taxes, traffic, and the Jets will lose. 3 things you could always count on. All right, man. Well, so great talking to you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care. That's our episode, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Get a Real Job comes out every Tuesday, so be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you harvest your favorite podcasts. Leave us a review, give us a share. Don't make me beg, people. Go to entrepreneur.com for new episodes of this and to listen to our other great podcasts. Thanks.